for it a lot, cause our fire is burning and they're helping you fight. It's the fire keepers, the fire keepers, fire keepers, fire keepers, fire keepers. Recovery, Bunker BG, talk recovery. Fire keepers, fire keepers. Alright, we go 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Firekeeper Recovery. I'm Brant, and today I'm joined by a North Carolina certified peer support and a co-founder of Rez Hope, Katelynn Ledford-McCoy. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, you got it right. Make sure my husband don't get mad at the last name. Yes, Ledford-McCoy. Good job.
Heck yeah. Thank you for joining us. Or me, I guess. I'm used to saying us.
Yeah, because there's usually a lot of people. Well, I'm super pumped and excited to even be asked and honored, really, to be asked to come on here. I know usually you have some other co-hosts, so I appreciate you working with me, with the timing and things. We just had a lot going on, so I'm glad we were able to finally get this dialed in, and here we are. So yeah. I'm pumped. Thank you for having me on.
No problem. Yeah, it's just, for me, it's important to just share different journeys that people are taking to show that how many different ways there are to find recovery. So, yeah, that's why I think it's important to share your story. So just a quick check-in from myself. It's been a pretty good week, staying strong, motivated, keeping my momentum rolling, about the positive energy, and looking forward to next week. I have a trip with my brother, so a bonding experience. So yeah, everything's going pretty good, just keeping it rolling. How about yourself?
That's awesome. Yeah, I love the check-in part. Like, I love that little piece to your podcast. So I was looking forward to being able to do this. And I don't get the opportunity now that I'm not at the hospital anymore. Usually we're checking in all the time there, and so it's a good reminder to check in. I'm feeling pretty good today. I'm not gonna lie. This morning stuff started out a little. As soon as I rolled over, I grabbed my phone and I had a message about some things that I needed to start working on for our nonprofit, and so I didn't really have time to get grounded this morning, and so I kind of was stressed out already, and then it automatically was like, Kayla, we got to do this, and this, and sometimes I have to reel myself back, because I'll jump into things and try to get everything done at once, and sometimes just a little patience will go a long way. And so I was stressed out this morning, but I went on my run. So I love running. I right before I came here, around 11:15, I went on my run and cleared my mind down at Gadua, and it's just such a beautiful day, so it kind of helped to reground me and just find balance. So showered and come on up here so I could be on time with you. So feeling a lot better now, so I'm able to just I think it'll be smooth sailing.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for sharing. And so with that, we'll just go ahead and get into the questions.
Let's do it. I'm excited.
So we'd like to start off with what are some of the things or events that help move you out of active addiction and into recovery?
Oh man, I always get asked the question, what was my rock bottom? And I always laugh because I'm like, man, I feel like my rock bottom wasn't just one point. My rock bottom was years of just it never got better. It was just chaos for years. But the point that pivoted me into recovery, I will say, so the last time that I went to jail, I had actually been to prison right before that. I ended up having to go to prison for 6 months, got out, and was on, parole, and state doesn't look up Cherokee tribal charges, and so I actually had an FTA for Cherokee when I had got released from prison. So I was out here, and it was just clockwork, like any other time when I was in my addiction. I had FOMO, fear of missing out. I was ready to go hang out with my friends. I hadn't seen them in so long because I was in prison and this, that, and the third. And so I went out with my buddies knowing, people, places, and things. The people that I was surrounding myself were still using. I went for maybe 2 or 3 days, but then somehow you eventually always give in, and that was always me. So I didn't go home, I had went back to my mom's at that time, and her thing was like curfew, don't lie, practice honesty, and just follow these simple rules and you can be under my house. She 100% always tried to support me and always had her door open for me to come home, Yeah. And so, anywho, I didn't come home, ended up getting arrested again like 3 weeks later because at that FTA, they seen me and pulled us all over and searched us all, took us all to jail, and I ended up getting charged again for I guess somebody had some dope in the car and nobody claimed it, and I don't know, I don't really remember, but somehow I got charged with it too. So I went back to jail, went to Cherokee jail, and got out shortly after that and went right back into it, and it got really bad after that. My thing was always opioids. That was always my drug of choice, that or meth if I didn't have opioids. So in that time, like, heroin had really blown up here in Cherokee. Like when I went to prison, it was not heroin. I mean, boy wasn't around,
Just pills.
Yeah, just pills. And so whenever I got out of prison, like, you couldn't find pills. The only thing that was around was heroin. So you just adapt to what's around. And so I ended up, doing heroin. I surrendered to it, and I was like, all right, well, if that's how the only thing around, that's how I'm going to get high. And so that's when it got really, really bad for me. I went a few more weeks. It was not long at all, but I went a few more weeks of doing heroin, and I was overdosing left and right. It was crazy. I can't tell you how many times I woke up in a bathtub. And so the last time I got arrested, or I had went to court 10 minutes late. Honestly, it's my saving grace. I mean, truthfully, I was like about to walk into the courtroom, and I remembered, I've got some pot in my pockets. I better run it back out to the car. So within running it back to the car and going back into the courtroom, I was 10 minutes late and got caught and failed. And so I was thinking, he's just going to strike it because I was here. I'm here now. No, he double my bond to $180,000, and I ended up not being able to get out. But honestly, hindsight's 20/20, because I look back on that and I was like, that 10 minutes of being late saved my life, because 2 days before I had that court date, I had overdosed twice in one day. I was selling heroin, and so that morning I had done some and woke up in the bathtub. Everybody was crying, begging me. They're like, please don't use it, don't do it anymore, you're gonna die. And of course, in that moment, I was like, okay, you're right. And I truthfully believe I did not want to do it, because later on that day, I mean, you know how it is. You can't. You start going through withdrawals, and if you've got it, I mean, I've never known a drug dealer be able to sell if they're using too. You're going to do it. Mm-hmm. And so I ended up using again and overdosed again later that evening, and then it was 2 days later whenever I went to court late, and I truly in my heart of hearts believe that had that not happened, and I've truly looked at myself and been like, Katelynn, if you don't do something and change something, you're going to die. That was a real eye-opener for me, even though I'd been through a whole lot of things where I could have died. I don't know. A piece of my recovery is my faith. I didn't really understand it at first, but now just doing more internal work, I kind of understand it a little bit better. But I had a close friend during that time that we were really close in addiction, and when I was in jail that time, I spent another 4 months in jail. So I feel like I spent almost a year in prison and jail, and wasted, I look back on that time, I was like, man, I don't want to do this anymore. And I had a friend, she went to wellness court, and so she got to get out. I sat in jail because I had mandatory jail time I had to serve for trafficking charges, and she was But the whole time I was in jail, I was calling her, right? I was calling her, I was calling my family. Those were the only people I was calling. I wasn't calling all the dope dealers like I had or all the people I was running with. I just called her. And I heard something different for the first time. It wasn't like, oh, we gotta go here and do this drop and blah, blah. It was, instead she was like, oh, I'm going to go meet my family. We're going to go and eat, and then I'm headed to an NA meeting. Or, oh, I'm meeting up with so-and-so, and we just got done doing this, and now we're going to go hit up this meeting. Or, just things like that. And I was like, man, I miss that. I miss having, like, that sounds like so good to me, and I haven't experienced that in a long time, and I wanted that again. And she'd wrote me a letter in jail and was like, Red, make me a promise me you will not use when you get out. And I don't know what it was. I don't know why I was so loyal to her. I don't know why. I mean, I really did, like, loyalty to me was everything, right? Yeah. And so if I said that I was going to do it, which is crazy because I could never do that for my family. Like, as many times as I told my mom that, I just could not do it. But for some reason, I don't know, someone being in the thick of it with me or something. I made that promise to her, and then when I got out, like, she really fostered that friendship for me and that recovery community that I was searching for in the beginning. She really, she was already working with Mothertown. She was going to the classes at Analanishki. And so she kind of like laid the groundwork for me to be like, okay, just do what she's doing, and I really did get plugged in that way. And I mean, the reason I mentioned my faith is because I truly think that God works through people, especially when we're so, choosy about who we're going to listen to. I think that he was working through her to try to get to me, because it completely changed my life, set me up with a foundation that I've stuck to. Sometimes we get away from that, but sometimes, I had to go back to the basics and be like, okay, what got me started in all this,
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, the support is important, and a lot of people don't have that, so that you found it in a different place, that's important to people, so you can find it even in jail. You found that leader, or not a leader, but somebody shining a light for you.
Yeah.
Follow me.
Yes, exactly. Yes, the follow me piece to it. Yeah. Yes, that's very well put.
That's all we can do. That's what we're doing, just being an example for people right now. So what challenges did you face in early recovery, and what new challenges are there now?
Some of the challenges for me, well, of course, abstaining and staying away from certain people. Like, I really struggled with that, and I hear that a lot for other people too. Is like, well, I don't want people to think that I'm better than them, and I feel like I was in a place like that too. But I don't think I've ever met anyone that's gotten into recovery that does feel that way, like, oh, well, I'm just better than them because I was able to stop. I don't think it's like that, but I think we do carry that fear of people thinking that, because we don't go hang out at the trap house anymore. But I just know myself, like, I know I could never be prescribed a narcotic and feel like, oh, okay, I'll just take it as prescribed. Like, that's just not who I am. I know that how much I love it. And so really learning how to keep myself out of those kind of environments and situations that could just potentially become dangerous for myself in my recovery. Another piece for me is like just trying to learn how to deal with my emotions. I know that, like, when I would use, I was a very emotional user. So whether I was just having fun, or whether I was angry, or I was sad or upset, like, that was the way that I coped. And so trying to figure out different ways to cope in a healthy fashion, that was new to me. Yeah. And another piece too was just trying to get back into back into the flow of things, especially because when after going through so many years of addiction, and you do feel hopeless, you feel like you've disappointed so many people, not just your family but the community as well. Heck, I've shared this in my story before about the when I was being taken up to that last time I was in jail, being taken up to the front, and the jailer, he's a sergeant, grabbing the face sheet and reading my name and being like, my middle name's Hope, and he was like, Katelynn Hope, more like Katelynn Hopeless. And that's, like that, it's things like that make it really hard and challenging for you to feel any kind of worthiness. And so, especially going through years of addiction, you don't feel like who am I to try to apply for this job, or who am I to be asked to come and speak at this, or who, that's the internal dialogue going on in my mind. So that was really challenging. It's just feeling like I was deserving of more. I really thought that I would just end up working at McDonald's, and that's because I'd messed up my record and I had done all these, different things, and I really thought my past was going to outshine anything that I was trying to do now. So those were some of the challenges that I faced. My current challenges, man, I have done a lot better, but like when stress shows up, that's a challenge for me. Just being able to recognize challenge response. How am I going to be able to work through this and not, just lose everything, like my whole wits about me. Fear is a challenge. Yeah, fear. And still sometimes I do feel a little inadequate. I think that for me, I can't speak for Caleb, but I know, for instance, one of the challenges I'm facing right now is with our nonprofit organization, right? We started it years ago, and we had this, we were just saying earlier, being the visionary, and we have these huge, grandiose ideas, right? And we're like, we need this in the community, and I'm going to be the one to do it. And sometimes I feel like I have ran into that very full on, and I'm finding out sometimes having a little patience is important, and that's challenging for me. That instant gratification, right? I want things to happen now, and especially when our community is still being destroyed, even then that lights even more of a fire, and I'm like, we gotta hurry and get everything done. And so sometimes I feel like I jumped into things a little too quickly, because we were fresh, early in recovery, and honestly, that's important to be passionate, but I let a lot of things kind of get in the way of my focus, and they're not bad things. They're not bad things at all, because I was enrolled into school. I was going to school trying to get my degree. I've been working at the hospital, really diving into that and pouring my heart and purpose into that, and then just at home life, and I'm not. And it kind of sounds like excuses right now, but that's just me being transparent and being real right now. It's been a challenge. It's been a journey, and we probably could have done things a little bit differently, but here we are, and so I still kind of get in my head too with our community and I'm trying to do better about that, because really what anybody else thinks isn't really any of my business. Yeah. As long as I'm trying to do what I'm doing with a good heart, and that's all I have, the effort that I'm giving. And God really shook me and was told me it's time to fully put my full effort into this and my full focus. Since I graduated in May, that was awesome. I was like, okay, I have that off of my plate, and so now I can focus on that. And then I was just like, okay, you gotta step away from work, because I was still being really just pulled every which direction. But So I guess what I'm trying to say is like that the mind games, like the internal dialogue, because sometimes I start to get in my head about things, and I can beat myself up better than anybody else can, you know, and tear myself down. So I just have to be mindful of that, because I do think what we're doing is important, and but that's some of the challenges that I face. But I like I said, that's why I do what I do, to try to combat that. You know, like I do exercise, I do my spiritual work, you know, I do my emotional work so that I can just reground myself and focus.
Yeah, I relate to that fear part. Is am I doing the right thing? Am I putting the right stuff out there or whatever? So, but what I've come to is it's my story, so it's whatever I put out there it's mine. So I'm taking responsibility and accountability. So if I'm putting it out there, I have nothing to be fearful of, because I'm honest with myself now. So.
And that fear will keep you in a rut. Like, I know for me, I'm always questioning, like, what are people going to think? What are people... And then that fear can just keep you from, like, entrapped. It can keep you entrapped. Same thing with addiction. The uncertainty and the fear of a lifestyle change. Like, that fear can keep you entrapped. And so I have to be really, like, remind myself about that.
Yeah. So I think going along with that is, what were your motivations and how did you discover them?
My motivations?
Yeah.
What do you mean, like, just
to keep going as you got into your recovery? Has your motivations changed from the beginning to now?
Oh, gotcha. Definitely. Well, I think a big motivating factor for me all the time is my family. You know, that was, you know, you always hear the saying, like, you got to do it for you, and you do. But, you know, I can say, like, a big motivating factor for me was my family. Like, She Dene Lahi, I have it tattooed on my arm, and it's actually covering one of the track marks. And which this tattoo is really special to me, because, you know, there's a time in my life when I couldn't be an aunt to my nephews. You know, like my sister and the boys' dad, they didn't want me to be around because I was doing drugs, and that's totally understandable, you know. And so, like, when I was able to restore those relationships and be a part of the family again, like, that really meant a lot to me, and I didn't want to mess that up. And so the fact that he would even do this tattoo for me was huge, because, you know, family means everything. I think just another piece is, like, just knowing, like, reflecting back on my past, just being in the community and being vocal about, you know, recovery has really held me accountable to continue to do the work that I'm doing, and to stay in my recovery and to move forward. You know, I got to bring the woman piece into it, just being a face for strong, resilient Cherokee women. Like, that's very important to me. I want to be able to break those cycles. I want to show other women, like, hey, you do not have to continue to treat yourself this way just because you don't know how to love yourself yet. You know, like, it's okay. Like, we're here for you. We'll help sit in that with you. Let's see, what else? I mean, my marriage definitely is a motivating factor. I have so many things happening in my life that opportunities that I didn't dream of. You know, like us speaking in schools, us being able to go to these races and travel, us being able to be in our families' lives again. Like, I never dreamed that. I really thought I was just going to die to addiction, you know? I finally crossed that threshold where I was like, all right, this is it. This is how I'm going to go. And so all of that stuff motivates me. Being able to, you guys motivate me, every time. And I would tell my SAT class that all the time. I'd be like, man, like those full circle moments, like being able to go through SAT and then crossing that threshold of being able to be the leader and teach SAT. Like those moments are so huge for me. Just being able to be in community with people who are in recovery. See, I don't know if you was at the recovery rally when I was sharing. Oh God, I got put on the spot. I wasn't even planning on sharing. I wanted everybody else to share. But Sean Crow put me on the spot. I was like, okay, you're right. We got to share our testimony. And there is power in that. But, as I was sharing and I was looking up in the audience and I was seeing like so many people that were in recovery, and almost every single person that was sitting in that audience I used with. And like I could not help but break down crying because it's so powerful and it's so healing, and all of that motivates me to keep going. I really do love my community. I have a lot of regret for being such a influential piece to help bring destruction into our community, but that's why I do what I do now. And I don't do it right. I don't do it perfect. There's a lot of places where I could improve on, but I really am passionate about just being a face of hope. That's definitely a motivating factor. But when I get to sit amongst other people that, no matter how far along in recovery, no matter how early in recovery, even if you just experienced a relapse, like all those things, like I'm just so honored and grateful to even be a part, because there was a time when, by the grace of God, like none of us could be here right now, Yeah. And so that's a motivating factor. Just the been given a second chance at life, and what are you going to do with that time? The way that so when we first started our nonprofit, right, you get a board together, and we had some really, really awesome people on our board, and they had to step away for different reasons. But Casey Cooper had put it this way to us, and I will never forget this. Like, I will just always, I'm so glad that I heard it in my early recovery, because even now, I'm thinking about it now. I'm going to think about this statement for the rest of my life, and it completely changed my life. But he puts it like this: when you're sitting on your front porch and you're old, you're coming towards the end of your life, and say, imagine that you're old and feeble, or God forbid, I might still be doing pull-ups by this age, but if I have anything to do with it, no. But you're sitting on the porch, right, and you're in your rocking chair, and you look back on your life. What does that look like? What is that legacy going to be, right? Yeah. What are people going to say whenever they hear Brant Grant? What are people going to say when they hear the name Katelynn Ledford-McCoy? I sure to God hope that if I have anything to do with it, it's not going to be the Katelynn hopeless line. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, that's a motivating factor for me I want to do good. I want to help our community heal, and so I will always think back on that. And anytime I live my life that way. Like, I want to do as much as possible in my life, because I wasted so much time, and I want to be able to reach that moment when I'm in my rocking chair and be like, man, I did a lot of good. Yeah. I might have done some bad, but I did a lot of good in my life.
Yeah. Yeah, so I like what you was talking about, that community aspect of it. So how important is community to your recovery?
Oh my God, it's everything. Yeah. It is everything. Like, if you don't have community, it's a struggle, to feel like you're having to do it all alone, and it doesn't have to be that way, I don't care who you are, but you get around some people in recovery, you're going to be cutting up, you're going to be laughing, you're going to be hee-hawing, you're probably going to be crying, because we've got some stories, but that's how we grow and that's how we heal. And so, but even more so, like, just, like when I am invited to come speak at different places, and like I do get in front of council members, or I do get in front of the paramedics, or people, nurses, whoever, people in the community. And as Cherokee people, we're storytellers. That's something that has always been, like, I'm so thankful, and I never realized this until, just a couple years ago. Like, my family, the Pheasants, they're known storytellers, and it's just so crazy to me how life works, because now I'm like, okay, well, I have this opportunity to share my story just in a different way, and it's serving its purpose and helping in a different way. And so I just think that as a Cherokee community, like that's how we grow, and that's also how we can learn how to show empathy towards one another, right? Because I can't tell you that there's a family on this reservation that has not been touched by addiction, right? And so that's why I think that having community is so important. I will always talk about Mothertown Healing Project, because it completely, it changed my life, and it helped me to regain that, right? It put me back doing things, volunteering, doing service work for the community, and it helped me to kind of start, like, I could feel little shame pieces starting to break off of me, I could start to feel like I was worthy again. And I don't think that I ever wasn't, but we just, because we're not taking care of ourselves and we're hurting ourselves, like you get into that place where you don't feel worthy. And so it's important to make those connections. It's important to rally together as people in recovery, and if anybody understands, it's going to be somebody who went through the same kind of hell you did, And so it's important to incorporate that into your recovery, so that you do feel supported, you do have people you can lean on, you do have people that you can to turn to, and then your network is your net worth. That's a saying that I will hold true to. So, like, what we're doing right now is networking. What the people that you meet, like Stephanie Almeida, or say it's like we've met people out in Raleigh, or honestly, we've got supporters and collaborators all over the U.S. and community. Like, that's how important it is to be able to make those connections, because like, oh, you want to start a podcast? That's awesome. Hey, I know this person, or I know that person, and let me try to help you in this way. And that's like a community comes together to help one another, right? That's our back in the day, that was what the Cherokee did, right? Is if somebody, say so-and-so didn't have food on the table, then they would rally together and feed this person, right? That is what community is about. So whether it's through food, whether it's through love, whether it's through empathy, like, you gotta have that. You gotta be able to have good soil. You think about it, like in the addiction world, we had a community, we came together and we rallied together, just not for the most healthy thing, So, like, you got to ground yourself in a good, healthy community.
That's why we choose to use community instead of, like, family. Some people don't have family or good support family.
Exactly. Yes, because this might be the only. Some people have family that are still using. And so you got to be able to be supported somehow, some way. I love that. Yes.
And so the last question we ask is, how has recovery changed your life and those around you?
Oh man. Well, it has completely changed my life. It has definitely helped me to have confidence again in who I am. It's helped me how to learn how to love myself again, and be comfortable looking in the mirror at the person looking back at me. I can honestly, and it's not even because of, like, so a big piece of my story is like performance and schoolwork and like perfectionism. And so even beyond that, recovery has taught me how to love myself without having all that, right? Without having to do everything perfectly, like being okay with failure. Like it's not, I don't even look at it as a bad thing. Do I want to fail? Do I want to, like, I don't jump into something and be like, I hope that I'll fail in this, you know? But like, I have a better understanding for it to know, like, okay, well, even though that might happen, it's not the end of the world. What are you going to do to pick up and keep moving forward? What are you going to do to learn and grow from it? For my family, I mean, honestly, Brant, like, the way that recovery has changed my life is I truly feel like I am doing something in my family and in my community to help break the generational trauma and to help break cycles, because you know, like, I'm able to be that sister that I can be available to and I'm not trying to control, or I'm not trying to, you know, like, be the advice giver all the time. Like, I can just be the person to just listen. Or if you want me to put on my peer support hat, I can do that. Although they say not to do that with your family members. It's so hard. But I mean, it's helped me to be able to just get a lot of things back into my life, such as, you know, like school. I never thought that I would go back to school, but I did. And even though that's on pause right now, in the future, I am going to go further. So without my recovery, I wouldn't be able to do that. It's helped me to, like, just be able to be a better role model, demonstrator, whatever you want to call it, for my family. You know, I really, you was talking about going on a trip next week and being able to go bond with your brothers and things. So a couple weeks back, we went to, we were going to do our thing then, but we went on our first family vacation. And that was really cool because, you know, we had all the nieces and nephews there, and they've all been touched by addiction, some shape or form. Like, they've lost their parents to addiction, or their parents still in addiction. And so just being able to be that light for them and to show them something different. I mean, we've started, so I would never have been brave enough, or, you know, so when I was in school, high school, I had done the health occupation classes, and I wanted to become a nurse. Actually, I wanted to go into labor and delivery and see an epidural done, and found out that I couldn't handle that. So then I went to surgery, and I wanted to become a surgeon's assistant. So I wanted to go into the health field. And then addiction happened, and I didn't get to pursue that dream. But even though that happened, like, I'm now in the health field, just in a different way, like with behavioral health, you know. And at the time I didn't realize, but now, you know, I'm like, the need is so great that I couldn't see myself anywhere else. And without recovery, without my past, without any of that, none of this would have transpired the way. And I truly believe that every person has a purpose, you know. And so I think that's a key component to recovery, is figuring out what your purpose is and what brings that joy and happiness in life. And then that's where your fulfillment comes from, you know. And so without recovery and how it's changed my life, like, I wouldn't, like, I know this is who I'm destined to be. Like, it's not always going to look the same, but I know that this is how I'm going to help people, you know. And I'm not recommending it. I will say that. I'm not trying to tell you should go through addiction to try to get to but I'm just saying, for me and my journey, that's what I've come to realize. I have so much going on. I have a lot going on. I have a lot to be grateful for. I have you know, I'm really blessed. You know, I got married. I'm in a wonderful marriage. I have my family. I mean, it feels nice to go to family dinners and not feel like everybody's judging me or hiding their purses. So, you know, just being like, they're happy and they're excited when I come. Just being able to have the opportunity to be connected with the community the way that I am it's awesome. And that's why I do it, Brant. And that's why I love what you're doing, is because I want other people to see that, you know. And I'm not saying I have all the answers, but I truly believe that anybody can do this.
Yeah.
If you are passionate about something and you want to make a shift or a ripple into the community, you can do anything that you set your mind to. You just got to have the right people reach out. Don't be afraid to ask for help, because I mean the need is great. And I want people to be inspired, to be like, man, I see everything that they're doing. I want to do that. Like, there's no reason why you can't, you know, like I want people to, I mean, I see so many different people getting their CDACs. I see so many people doing, you know, working at this place or working at that place. And I'm like, you can get there. Trust the process, and just as hard as you went into your addiction, put that same effort into your recovery, you know?
Yeah, because we went hard at That's why I always say, use that selfishness that you have in your addiction for your recovery.
I mean, people who are in addiction, they're entrepreneurs at heart. Really, if you think about it, like, yeah, I mean, so many nonprofits, businesses could be started. And I mean, I see it happening. That's the cool thing about it. I see other people that are kind of stepping into their purpose and their passion, and I love it, and I'm here for it. You know, I encourage, and I'm always cheering and rooting for everybody, because that's what it's going to take, especially to show like our youth, other people that are still struggling. You know, that's what it's going to take, is for us to be vocal about this stuff, so that they too can have that little glimmer of light that in their darkness, like that we need it, you know?
Yeah, because that's what I like to say is, like, my parents loved me when I could, and that's how I even made it through my addiction, because they didn't ever give up on me. So I never gave up on myself.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because I wanted to. That's like, when you say you get hopeless, because that's the only hope you do have in addiction sometimes, is like, I hope I die, because I know I can't quit. So,
that's the worst feeling, and you really do think that, and it's hard to explain that to someone that's never struggled with addiction. You know, I mean, I hear all the time, like, why can't you just stop? And it's not that easy. Like, you literally have to beat your brain first off. You have to overcome your brain, and that's tough in itself, but it doesn't help when you have other people putting you down and making you just feel like crap, you know. And that's why I think it's important for people like us, for other people watching. I mean, and because there are a lot of people in the recovery that I do see that are like, you know, that are rallying and trying to be more empathetic and trying to show people who are still struggling just compassion and love, you know, because like you said, I mean, they could be walking and they know the hopelessness that they're in, you know, but sometimes just stopping and being like, hey, you know, I see you, and I want you to know you're loved or you're worthy. They might not have heard that in a long time, you know?
Yeah.
And other than from their parents, but sometimes it's like, well, you're supposed to say that. You know what I mean? Like, of course you're going to tell me you love me. Some parents don't, though. Some parents just wash their hands. But, I mean, it's important. It's important to be the messenger of hope. It's important to pass that to everybody, and being kind goes a long way, you know, especially even for people in early recovery. You know how awkward it was in the beginning, like, you know, like, why am I even here? Like, this is so weird, but I don't know. I do think that it's just important to turn around and give back, you know, important to turn around and help carry other people's burdens.
So, that's all the questions we have. We have more, but we'd like to have you come back.
Okay.
But you got anything you'd like to talk about, or that you're working on?
Well, I mean, so as I kind of mentioned before, you know, I just recently left the Chia Hospital, so if anybody ever has a chance to apply there, I encourage you, because it's a good place to work. that was one of the hardest decisions that I ever had to make, was to leave my job, because not only do I love peer support work, I will always be a peer support at heart, but I love being able to see everybody up there every day. I'm missing that, you know. I love my coworkers. The hospital is a really awesome organization to work for, and I love how they really are trying to be an outlet for people in recovery. You know, they really are trying to get people hired on and give them that second chance. So that's really cool to see. The tribe is too. I will say that. I've seen, you know, a lot of people coming up and getting jobs with the tribe, so that's awesome to see. But so anywho, I stepped away from that job to be able to step into my nonprofit organization full time. So that's happening. I'm in the middle, so we're opening up a men's transitional home. Mind you, we've been trying to open this up for a while now, but I just honestly, you know, with COVID, when COVID hit, things just kind of came to a standstill, because, you know, we were doing a lot of stuff in the community, and trust me, I beat myself up over that, because I'm like, Katelynn, you gotta get your butt back out there in the community, and it's really hard to do when you've got, you know, 5 homework assignments you got to get turned in, and plus you got work, and I love, like, a big piece of my recovery is staying active, so working out is important to me. Doing these races is important to me. You know, that's helped me to really build my confidence and just to be a better human. So with all that, I say this: I am back in that full time. I'm working on a bunch of stuff as we speak. I actually brought my computer with me so I could work on some more stuff that's going to be coming. So be looking out for that. That's going to be coming out. Some different opportunities for people to be able to donate if they would like to. So I'm actually receiving a grant that's going to be able to fund the staffing for our home. But the money that we had previously, we've used that money to completely redo the inside. I mean, legit, Brant, this was a trap house. I mean, people, I'm not gonna lie, there was a few times we had to get squatters out of there and had to keep getting people to get out. But now that we've done, there's construction work and stuff, that hasn't been happening. So the whole inside's been redone. I mean, everything. We put new flooring down. I mean, trim, everything's redone in there. New cabinets. We put in new showers, new sinks, new toilets. Like, everything is brand new. I decided, I was like, if we're gonna do this, let's do it the right way, so we're not having to come back in doing for Band-Aid work, you know? So anywho, I got to get the place furnished, so I'm coming up with different ways to be able to raise funding for that. And I'm hoping to plan a 5K for later on in September, since it's Recovery Awareness Month. So be on the lookout for that. I'm going to be pushing a flyer out for that if anybody wants to come and take part in that. You do not have to run. I think it would just be cool if, especially for the recovery community, just to come out and take part in that, you know, like, I'm not saying you got to come and try to win the age group, you know, just, even if you just walk it. If you got kids, bring your kids, like, bring your family. That's beautiful to me, because that's restored relationships. That's what recovery is all about, you know. And I'm hoping afterwards to have like an open mic session, to where people, if they want to share like why they chose to come out to this 5K, or like, I run because of this, or it's going to be called Run for Recovery. So I run for recovery because it helped me get my kids back, or it helped me be able to get a job, or I just thankful that I'm still alive today, you know? Yeah. So anywho, and that's the nonprofit world, man, is you can't rely fully on grants. You got to be implementing other ways of funding. So trying to get momentum back with that, trying to get back out into the community again. So just like I said, be on the lookout, because this is going to be my full time, and I'm ready to get that house open, man, heads in beds. So as soon as I can get that place furnished, I can start getting people in.
And that's Rez Hope.
Rez Hope Recovery and Consulting. It's a nonprofit organization. Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember seeing it, but yeah, COVID.
Yeah,
wasn't around as much.
Yeah, COVID happened and it just kind of shut things down. And then, like I said, I dived straight into all my school stuff. But I'm done with that piece, so I'm able.
That kind of gave you the opportunity to get into your schoolwork.
Yeah, exactly. Well, here's the thing too, Brant, is I'm going to say this is like beforehand, you know, I don't know that I would have been able to handle the stressors that come with it, or, you know, like, I feel like timing is everything. Like, I wanted to do it at a certain time, right? But sometimes that's not up to me. I mean, it's God's timing, really. And I feel like I'm better prepared, you know, because I did work at the hospital. I do have more experience under my belt. I did get my degree. So I just feel like I'm better set up and prepared to be able to get it to what it really needs to be, compared to if I had been handed it. It might not be sustainable if I'd been handed it back then. So I think there's a reason for everything, and I'm just going with what I got right now, you know. So community, if you're interested in, you know, if you've been touched by addiction, or if you're, you know, if you're a recovery ally or advocate and you want to give back in some kind of way to the money that you give will be going directly towards these guys. I always get asked, why guys? Why'd you start with men, right? Well, at the time, Cherokee only had a women's home, and we were trying to open up a men's home. But we have a men's home. But I mean, honestly, it's full. It's places like that stay full. We don't have a whole lot of housing here. I mean, and this is a true grassroots organization. So, you know, we don't necessarily get the type of funding from other things that other places do. And so my thing with the men is like, why not men? You know, they're leaders. That we want to help these guys, to help them transform their lives, to be leaders in their families, to be leaders in the communities. You know, they're just as important too. Not to say, I mean, our vision one day is to actually have like a sober community. Yeah. But for right now, we had to start somewhere. So that's why we started with men. And we're planning on incorporating our fitness into that. We have a curriculum called Addict to Athlete that we're going to be implementing. And the reason for that is because, you know, we're very conscious about our health. As Cherokee people, we have the odds against us, man. Diabetes, cardiovascular disease, heart disease, hypertension, you know, high blood pressure, things like that. And so we want to help these guys to make real health changes into their lives, to where it's going to do the ripple effect, like the next 7 generations, right? Yeah. If when they leave from their stay with us, we hope that they have been instilled with the foundation to not only thrive in their recovery, but to be healthy men in the community as well, because you know, it can completely change their life. Yeah. And we should be teaching our youth this as well. So, and it starts with us. It starts with the family. You know, it starts with the leaders of the family. So, that's our vision. Anywho, so if anybody has any questions, feel free to call me, reach out to me in any way, or if you want to help, if you got any good ideas, if you're good at a certain skill and you're like, hey, I wonder if she could use it, like, reach out to me. That would be awesome.
Heck yeah. But I just thank you for sharing and doing all the work and things. So just keep it up. And I'll look to help out any way I can.
I appreciate that.
You got anything else you'd like to share today?
That's it, man. I really appreciate being given the opportunity. I love what you guys are doing. I'm super pumped about it. I always love seeing your stuff come through. So I'm super proud of you as well, you know, and for being, you know, a shaker and mover. It's refreshing, and I love it, and anything that we can do to help you guys as well. So.
All right. Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you, man.
Once again, thank Katelynn Ledford-McCoy for being on the program today. And with that being said, I'm Brant Grant, and this is Firekeeper Recovery. And as always, we'll leave the light on for you. Eastern Bay, Cherokee, Firekeeper. coming to you live from the mountains of smoke. Firekeeper recovery bringing you hope. If you're living in darkness, look for the light, cause a fire is burning and they're helping you fight. It's the firekeepers, the firekeepers, 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 firekeepers. Recovery, bumping BG, talk recovery.